Hello there. Welcome. First of all, Happy New Year. This is Latina. I am back uh, on live, or actually back creating videos. For those of you that follow me on LinkedIn, I did quite a few videos on LinkedIn last year. And I was really excited to do those. I was still leaning into AI. And at the time when I did those videos, I was basically talking about what was in the news in relation to AI. That was really helpful for me to do for a lot of reasons. So I'm back now, and I have a different topic to talk with you about. And it's actually going to be a series. Every week, actually every Monday, I'm going to be coming to you in this format, in this video format, to have a conversation with you. And you may say, well, what's the conversation about? Well, at the end of last year, I finished a book, and I'm really excited to talk about it. The book is called Respectfully Unbothered. You probably can see the cover of the book here on the screen, as well as a QR code, which I'll talk about in a second. But the book, Respectfully Unbothered, the purpose of it is all about navigating this corporate space, this work environment that you may be in, whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are you're an employee, whatever your level within this environment of work, whether you're an executive, whether you're just starting out, there's certain nuances that I feel that I have learned over time being in the corporate space and then leaving the traditional 9 to 5 and going into business, that I've been able to experience, to learn from. And I've had conversations with multiple people that may be coming up in their career. And those conversations led me to this book. And like I said, this book is called Respectfully Unbothered. It's basically how to handle difficult coworkers, set boundaries, and stay sane. All right, that's the tagline for the book. And there's several parts to it. So what I'm going to be doing as a way to promote and a way to encourage you to take advantage of this book and bring this book into your life in 2026 is I'm going to be talking about some specific topics every week. All right. And like I said, it's going to start off with a video conversation such as this. I don't plan to be here long. Um, so it'll start off with that, and I'll be talking about different topics that are related to the book. Now, what I want to show you, let's go out. I'm going to share my screen really quickly with you because I want to take you out to where you can find the book. The QR code that you see there, if you scan it, if you haven't already scanned it, it's going to take you out to my website. Kinsman Point Consulting/books, and it takes you to where you can find the actual book itself. And I'm going to share my screen in order to show you where to find that. So let me do that really quickly. Let's see, I don't need to share sound. And let me also say something to you as well. I am pretty conversational, all right? So I don't want these videos to be super stuffy and super like structured, quote unquote. I have notes, I have things I want to talk to you about, but I want this to be a conversation. So as I'm speaking, if there's questions that you have, please drop them in the chat and I will engage with you there with any question that you might have. So here's my website. This is kinsmanpointconsulting.com/books. And this is where you can find the actual book itself for purchase, right? So you can preview, you can look inside, you can bring a pop-up here and it'll give you basically the table of contents of what you will be, what the book's all about. I will be discussing topics from the book each week based on what you see here. So the different parts of the book, the first part being understanding yourself, the second part being navigating workplace relationships, and the third part being thriving in any work environment. We're going to be talking about specific topics in each one of these areas, right? And you have a couple of ways you can purchase the book. You can purchase the spiral bound version out on lulu.com, or you can purchase the paperback version on amazon.com. There are pricing differences with both. If you want the spiral bound, that is going to be a different cost than the Amazon paperback book, which is a lower cost, and shipping is going to be different, those kinds of things. But you can go out to either one of these places and find it. And then also, there is a complimentary calendar that I've created that is on sale now as well. So I'm going to click on that. That one is exclusively through lulu.com. And when you go out to that calendar, you can see the pricing here. It is basically your 12-month calendar. And if you look at a preview here, it lets you see a little bit of a preview of what this calendar is all about. All it is basically if you're into the desk calendar, if you have a wall calendar, for example, each one of the months has a phrase, just a witty phrase on each month. Something I put together as a complement to the book. I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen and show you it because I have it here in front of me. So I'm going to show you the copy that I have here, the proof that I have here. But it is actually on sale. It is actually $19.99 through January 24th. So if you want to grab a copy of the 2026 calendar, if you're into wall calendars or desk calendars, I keep a calendar, like a small one at my desk sometimes when I just need to quickly see the date. This can be that calendar for you. So I will show that. All right, so this is where you can go grab my book. So please go ahead, and if you're interested, as we go through these topics week to week, if you feel so compelled to purchase the book, please do. It is a workbook. Let me stop my share. It is a workbook. So here is, two things. Here's the calendar, right? So this is the calendar and the way it looks. And then, like I said, it's a desk calendar. So I'm going to see if I can, it has different phrases in here that are designed to be funny, designed to be sarcastic. I have a little bit of a sarcastic bend to my creativity. So this one says, let's circle back because I ignored you the first time. So just to show you that, I'm going to put that there. So yeah, so you can see that. So it's a basic wall calendar that you can see. It's going in and out because of my background. And there's different ones. Let me randomly pick one more. I don't mind helping out, but my Boundaries mind, and they're currently filing a complaint. Okay, so it's meant to be funny, meant to be witty. If you're into that, go ahead, and that one's a little bit of a different color. Go ahead and pick up the Respectfully Unbothered 2026 calendar and the Respectfully Unbothered workbook. This is the spiral bound. Now, I'm going to say something to you about the cover in just a second. This is the spiral bound version. You can see the spiral and the lights catching it. It is not this same cover. The cover is a little bit different, but if you want the spiral bound, you can pick this up that way. It opens up really nicely, or you also have the paperback version that you can get on Amazon.com. This is the proof of the paperback version. It's the paperback bound. Again, pricing is different, like I said. So it's really a matter, and it is literally a workbook. There are sections in here that you will fill out, basically stepping you through what your process is when you're navigating within the corporate environment. And I'm going to get into my first topic here right now, but I wanted to basically show you where that was. And again, the QR code will take you right to it. And throughout the week, I'm going to be engaging you with a lot of different posts and conversations, polls, things like that, to engage this conversation. So with that said, let's get into the conversation. The first topic that I want to talk about is self-awareness. Now, when navigating in the corporate space, before you start looking at everybody else, I think the first thing that the first thing you need to do is look at yourself. Look at what your triggers are. Be very self-aware of who you are when you walk into a space so that when you're navigating these corporate environments, you're able to navigate them successfully. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat the fact that in these corporate spaces, there's a lot of favoritism. There is a lot of cliquish behavior. There's a lot of people who are there as your nemesis. For whatever reason, people come across as either passive aggressive or they're micromanagers. All of that is for a reason, but you may be that person. Okay. If you are, this book is for you as well. And this conversation is for you as well, because starting with self-awareness is key. If you can be completely honest, and we're in a time right now where honesty is going to be, and transparency is going to be very important, not just with people, but with yourself. Be super self-aware. And I feel that self-awareness is a superpower. And one of the first things you need to tackle when you're walking and working through these spaces within corporate America, within your job, right? It's a gateway skill. It's one of the pillars when you're talking about emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is that first pillar. Self-management is the other, social awareness is the other, and then relationship management is the fourth. But I'm talking specifically about self-awareness. It's the ability to recognize your own emotions, your own triggers, and the impact you have on others. All right. If you know that you are triggered by a particular thing, because of a life experience, because of something you've gone through, then that's something that you need to take in as an awareness and then move accordingly when you're dealing with other people within your job. Because ultimately, when you're at work, it's all about what it is you need to do. When I'm working within my business, it's all about the deliverable that I need to get done. It's all about the client that I'm working with. I have to be able to navigate appropriately. And part of being able to navigate appropriately is being able to identify and be self-aware of things that are happening. All right. So give you an example. Let's say that you have feelings of, let's say that you're really self-aware and you walk into a space and you know what, I kind of feel like people aren't really seeing me. Well, where does that come from? What assumptions might you be making that make you feel that way? It could be that you're not really invisible, but it's such that your boss or your manager or your client may have a certain style of how they approach things, and that their style and how they approach things is making you feel a certain kind of way. You have to, and once you have that level of self-awareness, then you can move forward. So self-awareness is key. Self-awareness is your superpower. Now, let's talk about a little bit about empathy. Now, one of the things you'll notice, or one of the things that you'll see throughout my conversations throughout these coming weeks with regards to Respectfully Unbothered, in regards to navigating in the workplace, that a lot of my information is coupled with source material from outside surveys and things of that nature. And I'm not going to quote them specifically here, but I will quote them in the post that I make throughout the week. So let's talk about empathy. So the definition of empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Now, in the corporate space, there's only so much like emotional back and forth you're going to have in a corporate environment, but having that awareness of where someone is or where you are is going to be important. Being able to pick up on those nonverbal cues. And a lot of times those nonverbal cues can give you an indication of where someone else is and where you might be. All right. You might be picking up something from someone based on where they might be. All right. Now, coming off of the heels of empathy, if you are a leader, all right, one of the things that a leader needs to do is they need to have a level of empathy, one, and also you also need to have a level of anticipation. As a leader in the space, and every space I walk into it as a leader. As a consultant, I lead with what it is that I know and what it is that I bring to the table. So with that comes a level of anticipation. When you're walking into a meeting, when you're walking into a conversation with a group of people, when you're working on a project, it's going to be important to anticipate what questions might come up. Be cooperative in what it is that you are bringing to the table. And again, that self-awareness. If you know that you are triggered by a person for whatever reason, and maybe their style of delivery, you know, we don't all get along on the job. Okay. And I think that that's a misnomer, that I think when people walk into a space, there is I guess, a expectation that we're all going to be friends. You might not. You might not absolutely enjoy that person that you're dealing with. You might not. You might not like how that person comes across. You might not like how that person delivers a certain uh, message a certain way. Okay, it's a job though. This is not somebody you live with. This is not somebody who pays your bills, if you will. This is somebody that you work with. So if that is a trigger, you still have to find a way to work with that person. That's where self-awareness comes in. How are you coming in? All right. So, a couple things, and I want to talk about the impact that self-awareness and also emotional intelligence can have on your performance in your career. So one thing is that it can impact your salary. There are studies, and like I said, I'll quote a couple of them throughout the week, but there are studies that individuals that have high self-awareness or high emotional intelligence, their salaries can increase up to $30,000 annually than someone who isn't self-aware. Think about it. Let's think about this practically. If you are always somebody that is in their feelings, if you are always somebody who plays the victim every time something goes wrong, if you never take responsibility for what it is that happens on your watch within your position or job, that's going to impact your salary because you're going to be seen a certain way by your peers and potentially by those who have the ability to increase your salary, whether that's a client or whether that's a manager or whether that's HR. So think about that. Having self-awareness, having emotional intelligence can affect your salary. Visibility gap. There is a study that says 36% of people can accurately identify their emotions as they happen. That's only 36%. That's a very low, in my opinion, that's very low. So that's like knowing what your emotions are so that you can identify those spaces where you might be triggered. If you can hone your what it is you're feeling, what it is you're experiencing, where it's coming from, just taking a beat, taking a step, taking a deep breath and say, okay, where am I right now? What's going on with me? That can help you understand your emotional blind spots and also can make it so that people want to be around you, want to be in your space, that you become that person that people go to. And that visibility gap is going to increase your performance rating and ultimately increase your salary. Okay. So just knowing how being self-aware impacts your performance, and it absolutely does. Now, in my workbook or in my book, Respectfully Unbothered, there is a space in here for you to work through some exercises to help you understand and be more self-aware. I'm just actually looking at the section here of the book that talks about the reflection section. So just having a little bit of a clarity check. Thinking about a time where you did feel off and what was that like? So this workbook actually allows you to sit and kind of work out what those triggers are, what was the story that you might have been telling yourself, and then building your self-awareness, exercise to help you do that. So I encourage you, if this is a topic of conversation that is of interest to you, this is just one section of the book. I'm going to be talking about more as the weeks go on. I encourage you to go through the workbook and work through those triggers. So to conclude, this was all about self-awareness, which I believe is your superpower. Before you start to look at everyone outside of yourself or the things that are happening outside of you, it's oftentimes best to look at what's happening with you. So tell me in the chat, how do you feel about how important do you think self-awareness is in managing your life within this corporate space, whether it be on your job or within your business? And let's have a conversation. I'm going to be putting some things out for conversation throughout the week. Go ahead and engage with this video by liking, commenting, and also engage throughout the week with the other material that comes out as well. And again, tap on that QR code or scan that QR code. Check out both the book, Respectfully Unbothered, and the calendar. Again, the calendar is going to be at a discounted price through the end of the month if you're wanting to pick that up. And I will see you next time. All right, this is Latina Lewis, your future focused project manager, signing off. Be self-aware. See ya.